Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be talking about the severe weather set that's going to be occurring across parts of the state of Kentucky today. It's been a while since I made my last video. Twitter decided to go downhill today, so I've decided to make a special video for my own state. If you don't know, I have a Twitter account, and I'm primarily focused over the state of Kentucky, and since Twitter's been messing up, I decided to do it in a YouTube video today. So, getting that a little bit out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the SPC outlook here for today. They do have an enhanced risk for severe weather for most of the state. The only exceptions would be in far western Kentucky, far northern Kentucky, and parts of northeastern and southeastern Kentucky. So it includes places like Owensboro, Madisonville, Bowling Green, Louisville, Frankfort, Lexington, London, Corbin, and Williamsburg. Even gets as far east as Prestonsburg. So yeah, we got about everybody in here. For anybody that's not in enhanced risk, like Covington, Pikeville, or Paducah, you guys are in the standard slight risk area. You also have the possibility for seeing some severe weather today. The main threat's going to be damage and winds. There is a 30% probability for damage and winds in 25 miles of any given point. Hail will be your secondary threat. There's a 50% chance for some large hail. And there's a very low tornado risk, only about 2% chance of seeing a quick spit up tornado or two. And this actually includes all of Kentucky. The only exception would be in far western Kentucky. So there you have it for the SPC outlook. And they're going to update this in about less than an hour, the time to make this video, so it might be a little bit different. So checking out satellite imagery right now, we did have some pretty decent thunderstorms that rode through across the state overnight. I was woken up by one of the thunderstorms about 5:30 this morning. Not much wind with it, but definitely a lot of lightning with it. A few close range lightning strikes at my house, and it definitely shaking up the house quite a bit. But those same thunderstorms are moving out of the state. Currently, it's in parts of West Virginia, northeastern Tennessee, into parts of Virginia as well. And you see here off to our west, we got quite a bit of clearing so far this morning, and we do have some cumulus fields starting to build, which is an indication of an unstable atmosphere. Let me actually get my pen out so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So you can see some cumulus fields trying to build in the western Kentucky, and that's an indication of an unstable atmosphere. And that's the area we'll be watching for thunderstorm initiation. And I think the actual frontal boundary itself is still way back here, back in the parts of south central Illinois into parts of southeastern Missouri. And your low pressure system looks to be kind of right over central Illinois, and that's going to continue its track almost due east over really throughout the day today. And let's check out the current environment. So right now, surface-based instability. Really, the entire state of Kentucky is starting to destabilize, with the highest instability values in the southwestern Kentucky, where we do have areas in the 4,000 range, and that's going to continue to expand to the northeast into parts of central Kentucky. We should see about everybody destabilized anywhere from 2,000 to some areas that could get as close to as 4,500 joules per kilogram of instability. Now, even as low as 2,000 is still favorable for severe storms. So either way, we're going to have instability in place for severe weather today. If we check out some other ingredients like downdraft K for damage and wind threat, we do have values up as high as 1,100 in western Kentucky. Really, values exceeding 800 is favorable for damage and winds. Low level lap rates, not high at the moment, but there are some numbers starting to rise in the far western Kentucky. Really, over a 7 is favorable for strong to damage and winds. Skew T's. You notice here on the skew T's, there is an elevated mixer coming in here, so that's going to kind of dry everything out for us. And it's also going to help prevent unorganized convection. So really, anything that really builds would be some organized thunderstorms. So that's going to be quite important. Plus, with a stronger elevated mix layer, that can help increase your threat for large hail as well, especially when the thunderstorms first initiate in the western Kentucky. So that'd be another threat to really keep a close eye on too. Bulk shear. How much wind shear we got? Well, right now, if you live up in northern Kentucky right now, the wind shear values are not that impressive. Anywhere from about 25 to 30 knots across northern Kentucky. But if you live across like parts of southern and eastern Kentucky, you got about 35 to 40 knots of bulk shear, and that's going to be enough to have some severe thunderstorms, especially for the instability that we're going to be seeing today. Another big factor would be the 500 millbar winds, and you can see there in the blue shade, that's where we have 40 knot plus winds. That's going to help bring some lift into the upper parts of the atmosphere, and that's going to help lead to some thunderstorm development. Plus, with winds like this, that can help keep the thunderstorms organized as well. If we check out our hodographs right now, some pretty good hodographs in the eastern Kentucky where we have a little bit better wind shear, even back towards central Kentucky. But as you get back to western Kentucky, the hodographs, the curves itself are a little bit smaller, but it can still be favorable for some supercell-like structures, especially when they first develop. So that kind of helps with your tornado risk just by a little bit. And then you look at storm relative helicity. Values are not terribly high. They're on the low end, only getting up as high as 100. If you look at other parts of the atmosphere, as you get a little bit farther up, the helicity values start to increase. So you do see 200 plus values in the eastern Kentucky, and you kind of go down to one. Uh, I'm not sure what that stands for, to be honest with you. Surface to 1 kilometer. I'm not sure, or kilometers. One of the two. Uh, Getting up as high as 150. Really, 150 is like the minimum for tornadic activity. Uh, but another thing for tornadic activity would be 3 Cape, and if we look into that, there are some pretty good 3 Cape values, especially off to our west. So that's going to be an important ingredient for tornadoes. So really, when it comes to tornadoes today, it's a very low risk, but it's not zero. It's not the best top environment for tornadoes, but the environment is favorable for damage winds and some large hail within some of those stronger cells. So let's go ahead and move into some of the weather model data. So like I was saying, 500 millbar winds, we got about 40 to 50 knot jet over most of the state. That's going to help create some lift. And you can see here as we go through the day, it really doesn't change much. Just sticking around the 40 to 50 knot range, which is still going to be enough to get some thunderstorms. And you can see here as we get to peak time heating, you start to see these pockets here of lower wind speeds. That's where you have thunderstorms developing later in the day. So, yeah, on that. And let's check out reflectivity from the HERMO. This is the 14Z run, by the way. It's not the 12Z run. It's the latest run of the HERMO at the time of making this video. So we stay pretty dry over the next couple more hours. That's going to help keep the atmosphere, destabilizing over the next couple hours. Should be maximum out somewhere between 3,500 to 4,500 joules per kilogram. And as you head to 2 p.m. Central Time, you start to see some thunderstorms develop in the south central Illinois. That's where we're going to have a couple alpha boundaries left over from the storms the past couple days. Some thunderstorms are going to form along those alpha boundaries. And then you get to 3 p.m. Central Time or 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Now you start to see some thunderstorms trying to develop more into central Kentucky. You can see some thunderstorms developing over near Willisburg or over Washington County. Now, if that's correct, which more than likely it's not going to be, it's just a simulation. It does show some strong thunderstorms flowing through the Bogarts region, maybe by mid to late afternoon. I think it's a little bit slow in the progression. The timing is a little bit more uncertain, but the overall idea is still the same. You can see here, this is 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Looks pretty disorganized at the moment, but these thunderstorms are going to head into a more favorable environment, which out ahead of it is going to be favorable for some thunderstorm development, or severe thunderstorms, I should say. And you can see there by 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Okay, now we're starting to see some organized thunderstorms starting to congeal into a line, and that may extend up into parts of Ohio as well, and that's going to continue to move on to the east, bring in more of a damage wind risk than anything else. And it should get out of the state really by past midnight. Most of the activity should leave out of the state, but there's some showers of thunderstorms that could linger into southeastern Kentucky through the overnight hours as well. And some of those storms could be on the strong side, depending on how much instability is still left over. All right, let's focus on more on the environment. We've seen the reflectivity, at least the HERS, somewhat of an idea of what could occur. So this is instability like at around this time here, 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, which you can see the clock on the bottom right of my screen. It's 11:51 a.m. Eastern Time, so it's right about there. And if we actually compare to the instability right now compared to the HER model, and you can see there definitely underestimating the instability values already in the southwestern Kentucky. We got 4,000 plus out here, and it's only getting up as high as 2,500 to about 3,000. So not very good verification from the HER model. So definitely not a good sign from the HER, at least when it comes to verification anyway. But you can see here, as we get to 3 p.m. Central Time, now we start to see these higher instability values get into central and eastern Kentucky. Some of these values are probably going to be too low, so I would say we're going to be maximum out somewhere between 3,500 to maybe as high as 4,500. It doesn't have any 4,000 plus values on here, um, but given how it's already underestimating the instability in southwestern Kentucky, I'm going to assume the same thing out here. So, but if we do get a sounding near the Lexington area, so this is getting close to peak time heating. Not the best environment by any means, but once again, a lot of instability. Surface-based Cape 3,500, still favorable for severe weather. D Cape gets us up as high as 1,100. Let me get my pen out again so you guys know what I'm talking about. Keep on forgetting to get my pen out. So D Cape is up as high as 1,100. Low lap rates, surface to 3 kilometers, whatever that means. I can't remember what that means. It's up as high as 8.8, so that's also going to be favorable for some severe weather. And then you look into the wind shear values, which I'll change the color of the pen. If you check out those wind shear values, you can see here at least low level wind shear is going to be on the weaker side. But as you get into those higher levels, the wind shear values do get better. That's going to help keep the thunderstorms from organized. However, with weaker low level shear, that keeps the tornado threat pretty limited. So I wouldn't worry too much on the tornado threat. But you can see there are 3 capes up to 184. That's good for tornadic activity. And you can see here, when it comes to tornadic activity wise, there's actually very little wind direction of height. So once again, tornado threat very limited. Another thing too, kind of going back to the wind risk, there is some dry air at the surface. Anytime you see the green line, which is your dew point line, or your temperature line, which is your red line, is spread apart, away from each other, that's an indication of dry air. And you can see there is some dry air at the surface, so that's going to help with the damage wind risk. You also see a strong elevated mix layer up here in the upper parts of the atmosphere, so that's going to help with the large hail risk as well. That's going to lead to stronger updrafts out there as well. And then you can see the hodograph, very tiny. There could still be favorable for some small supercell structures. And you can see here how the thunderstorms really start to develop, and it actually starts to show some isolated amounts of 4,000 plus by peak time heating. And you can see there some instability may get left over in the southeastern Kentucky that could still be favorable for some strong to severe storms down there as well. Like you can see there, of course, as you get into the evening hours, low over shear does start to increase, so the tornado threat may start to rise a little bit as you do get into the evening hours, into the overnight hours, which is pretty typical. But you also start to see a cap in the lower levels too. At least that's what the Harbaugh thinks anyway. And at that point, the thunderstorms start to become more elevated. as well. Okay, so that's the HER model. Overall, from the HER model, not so good for tornadoes, but it's pretty good for damaged winds and large hail. Let's go to the HIRIS dam. And HIRIS dam typically handles the best when it comes to thermodynamics, which you can see already. It's already got 4,000 plus down there. Kind of in a similar area where the SPC Mezco-Analysis has it. So far, verification from the HIRIS dam is good. So this is 3 p.m. Central Time. At this point here, thunderstorms still have not initiated yet. But look at these instability values, starting to get anywhere from about 4,000 to 5,000 joules per kilogram. Sometimes HIRIS dam has a tendency to be a little bit overkill in instability, so that's something to be advised as well. And then you start to see those big thunderstorms develop in the western Kentucky. And the HIRIS dam is a little bit faster than the HER model. What's interesting is that the HER model is actually faster than the HIRIS dam back on this 12Z run. So, like I said earlier, big differences on the timing. But the overall idea is still the same. You know, the environment hasn't changed much on when you compare the two models. It's just the timing that's just going to be off, or something we really don't know yet. So let's back this up a little bit. Let's actually do a box sounding. So we'll include a good chunk of western parts of southern Indiana into the bluegrass region. So yeah, a lot of instability, surface-based Cape exceeding 5,000, maybe a little bit overdone on the Cape. But if you look at some of the other gradients, it's actually pretty similar to the HER model. D Cape is right around 1100. Strong low-level lap rates. Now, mid-level lap rates could be on the weaker side. It's barely favorable for severe weather, but it could still be good enough for some stronger updrafts out there. But it still has the same idea with a decent elevated mix layer, especially between 700 to 200 millibars, which could help with the hail risk. You still got dry air at the surface, weaker level shear, but upper level shear still on the moderate side. 3 Cape is actually much higher on this model, 268 for 3 Cape. And the hodograph is not nearly as impressed as the HER model. So overall, pretty similar to the HER model. The only biggest differences I see here is the instability values. HER model, I think it's going to be underestimating. You know, HIRIS dam maybe a little bit overdone. So, but regardless of that, if one of the models are right, it's still favorable for severe weather regardless. And then we'll check out the reflectivity. Now, I will say that HIRIS dam typically does not handle very well with reflectivity, so you might want to take this as a grain of salt. But it kind of has the idea that I'm kind of thinking of, though, so that's why I'm kind of showing this. So initially, you got supercells that try to develop in western Kentucky. That's going to be the initial large hail threat. When those storms start to form, they got strong updrafts that could lead to some large hail. It's when they cluster up, the large hail threat decreases, but the damage wind risk increases. And look at this, by 6 o'clock Eastern Time, now you got a pretty nasty squall line of thunderstorms that could bring in numerous damage wind gusts across parts of the Interstate 65 corridor into the Bluegrass region, and that can easily spread into eastern Kentucky. Now, I think that typically with clusters of thunderstorms like this, they typically can move a little bit faster, so HIRIS dam might be a little bit better on the speed of the squall line, but I could be wrong on that. But you also notice here, even out ahead of it, it actually does show some miniature supercells in the eastern Kentucky. That may help increase the tornado threat just by a little bit. And I did just look on NATOcast earlier. It does show a 5% probability for tornadic activity for most of central and a good chunk of western Kentucky, and even included parts of southern Indiana. Not really that big, but generally across parts of central western Kentucky, at least the NATOcast thinks is where the greatest potential for tornadoes could be. So that's going to be another threat to watch for. Last but not least, my little forecast here. So this is for the severe weather potential for today, and this includes most of Kentucky. The main threat is going to be damage winds. I got a medium risk for winds up to 75 miles an hour, so that's getting close to significant. I don't think we're going to see many wind gusts getting exceeded 75 miles an hour, or maybe not any at all. But we'll see how that kind of goes. But more than likely, some of these thunderstorms can produce damage winds anywhere from about 50 to maybe getting up as high as 65 miles an hour. But the 75 miles an hour, that's at like the max, I would say. Now, hail's on the lower risk. Now, it's a little bit higher in western Kentucky, but I think some golf ball size hail could be a possibility with some of those thunderstorms. Not terribly big, but still in the large hail territory. Tornado threat, very low. Could be a quick spit up tornado or two, especially across central and western Kentucky. Well, really, most of Kentucky in general. Um, then the flooding risk. There could be some localized flooding. There are some areas that have experienced quite a bit of rain the past couple days. There's been parts of the Bluegrass region, especially Lexington, that also had their wettest day on record back on June 30th. At least on that particular day, anyway, it was the wettest day on record, where they had well over 2.5 inches of rain. Then we had some rain last night and the night before. So the soils are going to become saturated over some areas that's experienced quite a bit of rain. So some localized flooding could be an issue, especially where thunderstorms train over some of the same areas, because they're lead to some localized flooding issues, and that's a low risk overall. So now most areas won't see localized flooding, but some areas probably will. So that's going to be another factor we've got to keep an eye on as well. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys got any questions, you can put a comment section down below. All right, you guys, questions. I'll see you guys on the next video. Goodbye and have a safe day.